splendor of the King. Oh, the majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, darkness tries to hide, tremble at his voice, tremble at his voice. Once again, brothers and sisters, but right now I want you to get on your feet. If you're at home, I want you to put your hands together for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. 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 Fist bump the person next to you, tell him you love him. participated in the Essence Music Festival in New Orleans. I had a long conversation with Janet Jackson. And Janet Jackson had, since a little girl, I knew her, watched her grow up. And she operated for many years in her very young years as in the shadows of her brothers, the Jackson Five. But somehow she found her own path and got on Good Times and other shows and started singing and performing. But she saw the ways of the industry had broke down many of her relatives and many other stars. Brother was scandalized and finally died, and others, that things that happened. But Janet kept on performing. And we talked about how even now in 2022, with all that she's seen and all she went through, I was there with her to speak on stage that night as she sold out the Superdome in New Orleans last Saturday night as a testimony that is not what you've been through, is that you got through. And if you know that you will get through whatever you've been through, your change will come. Your change will come. Your change will come. Sister Katrina Jefferson was reading part of my book called Righteous Troublemakers, and it occurs to me so many people are just clout chasers rather than change makers. Want to get numbers on social media, get eyeballs on them rather than real change made. They want to be in history, but the root of history is a story. You can't have his story without a story. And a story means that you're going to be up and down. You're going to sometimes face challenges. But if you can face the challenges of the day, you can make history. You don't have to be a clout chaser. You can be a history changer and a way maker and a change agent and make your change come. Your change will come. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Sunday, we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. For you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and for you that are watching on various of our platforms, we're happy to be with you on another Saturday morning to give our report on where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy. Our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. And get a drummer song, Brother Chris in the house. Certainly didn't we enjoy Reverend Tisha Dixon this morning. Give her a hand. gave us a word this morning. And let me first say that I want to thank Reverend Johnny Green, who pastors Mount Nebo Baptist Church here in Harlem and is a member of the National Board of National Action Network and is National President of Impact, who spoke for us on last Saturday. And in my absence, and I thank him. He did a wonderful message, wonderful job. And he has a word to say and know how to say it. And I'm honored that he would be with us on last Saturday. I want to thank all of our chapter leaders and others that came and joined Reverend D.V.S. Toon and Katrina Jefferson and Ebony Riley and Dominique and others, our youth, joining Ashley as we worked the 3 or 4 days down in New Orleans at Essence Music Festival. And we were able to do several of the forums. I spoke on stage at Superdome a couple of nights on voting. And you know, you got 60, 70,000 people that come to see Janet and come to twerk with Nicki Minaj. It's a hard message, but I did what I had to do. And just for the record, Winston Gilchrist, I didn't twerk, I spoke. I saw him look at me kind of strange when I mentioned it. And one of the things that was significant, you need to know history. Glad to see Brother Lloyd Williams, head of the Harlem Chamber of Commerce. We getting ready for Harlem Week, and I'm sure in the next week or two he'll be informing us here as he does on radio and other platforms that Harlem Chamber of Commerce has of the different activities and persons that we're going to see this year at Harlem Week. Well, it's really Harlem longer than a week now. I don't know the lineup for Harlem Month this year or who's appearing. I know one major appearance is Al Sharpton. I'll be there. He told me, I sent your stuff. You ain't got to invite me. I'll be there. But anyway, you need to know history. I remember, many of you know that my first real formal role in civil rights was when, at 12 years old, my mother brought me to Reverend William Jones and Jesse Jackson. I became youth director of New York Operation Breadbasket. Let's welcome our viewers from all over the world on Impact Television, our Impact Television family. So I became, at 13 years old, Reverend Dixon, the youth director. And I remember I was in a meeting with Reverend Jones and his brother, Attorney Clayton Jones. And we met with a banker and a man that had worked for then Senator Robert Kennedy, who had been killed. And I'm just a just-made teenager. I'm in the meeting. And the two men had a concept. The banker wanted to build start a magazine for black women. And the person that had worked for Robert Kennedy wanted to start a magazine for black business. And the reason they were meeting with Breadbasket and Reverend Jones and all of us in New York, and I just was part of the meeting because my job was to organize young people and we'd picket and march on companies that would not do right in the community. And the reason that they wanted us is they wanted us to get some of the major corporations that sell their goods in our community to advertise in their magazines. They said it's not fair that they exploit the market but don't put any advertisement in magazines that talk to our culture and talk to our interests and talk to our politics. And the man that worked for Robert Kennedy that wanted to do the Black Business magazine was Earl Graves, who started Black Enterprise. And the man that worked at a bank that wanted to start a magazine for black women was Ed Lewis, who started Essence magazine. So I was in the meetings from the beginning of Essence. And that is one of the reasons why every Essence festival, since they started the festivals in the 90s, I've spoken at, because I was there when they started. You can see on the wall here at the House of Justice, Essence magazine did a profile on me when I was 16 years old. So I grew up watching a lot of this history and knowing where it came from. That's why when I tell people in young folks in Huddle, give a hand to our brother, our other Huddle leader, spoke this morning. That's why I tell Philovia and them that it is one thing to read history. It's another thing to have grown up in history. So you can tell the writers what is right and wrong. A lot of folk that write history is guessing about what happened. Or they have a bad source as to what happened. But these young folk in Huddle, these young folk that join our chapters around the country, they will not be able to have, well, they will be able, but they will not be constrained to just read about George Floyd or read about Ahmaud Arbery. They were part of that. And it may not mean a lot then, but it means a lot later. Like it means a lot to me when I can walk in the Superdome and see 70,000 people there for a black magazine owned by a black man now. And I know where it comes from. So it means a lot to me as I've grown older. 13 years old, it didn't mean as much as it does now. And then when I look at my elders, what it means to people like Michael Hardy, it must be hard. Well, they didn't even have magazines when he was growing up. You didn't think I was going to give you a break. I wasn't here last week, so I got to double up on you this week. Let me also say that one of the things as we were in New Orleans, we tried to deal with the fact that we got word just a couple of days before about the shooting in Akron of this young man. Conflicting reports, our field director and our Ohio people, Cleveland chapter, Cincinnati chapter, on top of it. And then before we could even get all of that straight, we hear about this mass shooting in Highland Park, Illinois. One of the things that I noticed right away, they accused the young black man in Akron of shooting at the police while he was fleeing from them on a traffic violation. I want y'all to watch this now. The basis of what they said they were going after was a traffic violation. Well, we dealt with that this year. Case in Grand Rapids. Man shot in the back of the head over traffic violation. If you all remember, I went to preach his funeral, we fought that case, that cop got indicted. Cop's facing trial now in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Here we got another traffic violation. They claim he ran from them, jumped out the car after shooting at them with a ski mask. First of all, why would somebody run and shoot at the cops over a traffic violation? Right. And you didn't find no drugs, nothing in the car, no warrant out for him, nothing. Right. But then what got me even more trouble was a few days later, young white male gets in an elevated spot over a 4th of July parade and shoots and kills 7 people, wounds 38 people. They pursue him for a day, and they go arrest him with all of the courtesy that you could give somebody. They shot the brother 60 times, shot at him 90 times. The young white guy that killed all these people, they didn't shoot at him one time. In fact, the young white guy in Highland Park shot 70 rounds. They've almost put as many bullets in the young black guy in Akron as the white kid shot in Highland Park. And they wonder why we do what we do. It is the unequal treatment. Well, we got to look at all these videos of whether or not the man shot at the cops. Well, we'll look at the videos. What we've seen so far is a flash. We don't know what that is. But even whatever you come with, he did not kill 7 people in room 38. So why wouldn't you apprehend him the same way you apprehend this mass murderer in Highland Park? It is the inequality. A lot of us try to argue cases in situations that go too far. A lot of us say, I don't believe this, I don't believe. We ain't got to go by what we believe. Just go by what is. And the unevenness of it. I'm going to deal with this on my show today, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton on MSNBC. If it sounds like a commercial, it is. I would hope that people take real notice of the unevenness of both situations. Then I spent a lot of time this week, and I'm sure many of you saw it in the media, about the continued detention of Brittany Griner in Russia. Now, let me go through this slow. Brittany Griner is a WNBA major all-star superstar player. She's in the top ranks of the WNBA. For y'all that don't watch women's basketball, she's one of the major figures. The fact that several issues into this, and I want to take a minute to unravel this. The fact that they do not pay women basketball players what they pay men basketball players. One of the underlying issues here is unequal pay for women. Because of that, some of the women players play in the international leagues in order to make more money. For the last several years, Brittany has played in Russia. People have said, don't go to Russia, they are our enemy. She said, well, there ought to be some things that supersede the boundaries of conflict and war and politics. And the fans of basketball in Russia have the same right to seeing top-notch performers as the fans in the United States. And she went many times, which enhanced basketball and the culture that Russia wanted to act like it wasn't isolated from the world. In many ways, the leaders of Russia should feel that she helped them by not marginalizing and isolating them. Y'all with me? She comes into Russia, as she has before, and they claim they found some vapor cartridges in her luggage. Now, whether they found them or not, some don't believe it, some do. She's pled guilty. I'm not going to argue that point. But what was curious to me is they arrested her and charged her with this 2 weeks before they invaded Ukraine. Yeah. Which says to me, Rev Dixon, that they had to know when they arrested her that they was going to invade Ukraine. They didn't jump up one night and say, we're going to go out to Ukraine tomorrow. All that had to be well thought out. So my real fear, now I'm not getting this from a family, I'm saying this is Al Sharpton. My real fear was, were they grabbing her to use her as a pawn? Yes. To say to the United States, now we're getting ready to do this Ukraine. Be careful what you do to help Ukraine, because we got something of value to you. Because at that level of global politics, nothing just happens. That's it. They grab her, charge her, put her in a Russian jail. For weeks, nobody said anything. I called Secretary of State Blinken. I called people in the State Department early. I mentioned it on my television show. I mentioned it on Morning Joe. Because I couldn't understand how this black woman was being held by Russia and nobody seemed concerned about it. You can look at the record. Y'all that watch my show every week know I mentioned it. Week that happened. Kept mentioning it. Finally, we get down a few months now. She's been in there now 4.5 months. And finally, her wife said, this is too much. Somebody need to do something. And her wife said, I'm going to do an interview. And she did an interview on my radio show, Keeping It Real. And she did an interview with Gayle King on CBS. When she did that, we started talking. And I said to her, if it is the family's wishes, I'm going to ask the State Department and the President, simultaneous with you coming on my show, because she talked about on my show about how worried she was they would not even let her have a phone call with Brittany, and letters from Brittany. Brittany was so tortured mentally and so uneased and felt under siege there. She's in a jail that nobody speaks English, just about 95% only know Russian. They transport her to court in a vehicle that's too small for her 6'9" frame. She only gets caught 1 day a week for about 10 minutes. It takes 2.5 hours to get her to the court from the prison, 2.5 hours back, so 5 hours she's in a vehicle that she can't even stretch out in. All of this, and nobody's saying nothing. So wife said that. I said that what I'm going to do is ask the State Department and the President to arrange for me and some ministers to at least go and make a clergy visit to Brittany in Russia. And many of you saw in the media, Rev Al want to go to Russia, do a prison visit, Right away, we have politics and we have Negro ticks. Right away, the politics said, Sharpton's challenging the president and the State Department. The Negro ticks was, here Rev Al, here you go again. Now, none of the Negroticians was speaking about Brittany Griner. None of them opened their mouth about this young lady. But now all of a sudden, here I go again. That is correct. That is exactly what I was doing. That is what I do. I don't know how long it's going to take y'all to figure it out. That's what we do. We intend to make public and to aid people raising attention on things that have been ignored. I don't apologize for that. I said my eulogy at George Floyd's funeral. Don't nobody call me to keep a secret. Talking about Rev Al always in the press. That's part of my job. Why would people come to me and say, no, don't tell nobody? Police shot my son, but don't tell nobody. They come for that reason. When her wife went on my radio show, it was my obligation to help keep it out there. Whether Putin let me and the preachers in or not was not the point. It made this government have to deal with Brittany Griner because we were making the request. So the wife holds her thing. Goes on a couple of shows, Gayle King, my show. Then I make the request on the ministers. Then Brittany writes a letter to Biden. And the letter landed on the 4th of July. And she said, as you celebrate the nation's birthday, don't forget about me. I've been here 4.5 months. First time I voted for you. Don't forget about me. Biden then here's now a whole firestorm of us saying, Biden, you got to do something. Biden, we want to go over there. And Biden then decides, after 4.5 months, him and Vice President Harris picks up the phone and calls the wife that they never called before. Then another detainee, the Whalen family, said, well, nobody ever called us. I said they should call everybody, but more than call everybody. And deal with something about this. You can deal. They just negotiated 3 months ago a white former Marine named Reed, where they did an exchange. They call it a swap. With him and a Russian inmate that the United States was holding. They let him go, gave them the Russian back, while Brittany and Whalen was still there in jail. She was in jail when that swap happened. So whatever you need to do, let's do that. And I've said that we will support whatever Biden and them do. We just want this young lady home. Now, on yesterday, I was in Chicago. Rev Marshall and others, Richard Nulling and others joined me, our media team. Some of y'all that are on social media saw a lot of what we did. I believe it was in some of the regular media and Instagram and all. Well, Brother Hardy's phone doesn't get on social media. You can't get that on a rotary phone. You gotta get an iPhone. They have a thing called Instagram, not Instamatic cameras, Instagram. We'll give you the breakdown later. You busy after the rally, help me bring him into the 21st century. But we went to Chicago because the WNBA All-Star game is tomorrow. And they're having all of the festivities building up to tomorrow. So Brittany went to court on Thursday and pled guilty. Now, what is the strategy of that? I don't know. People asking me, well, why did she plead guilty? What is the strategy? I don't know, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you. But I honestly don't know. I do know, though, that it has been said in many public circles. I've called and talked to people in the Russian Orthodox Church when we were trying to get the clergy meeting. I've talked to people at the highest level of the State Department. I've talked to people in the White House, and I believe they are sincerely now on this, trying to get this done, and we are supporting that. I believe that the word was that Russia would not negotiate the release of Brittany or Whalen until the trial was over. The trial only happened 1 day a week. I mean, they could have had a trial all the way to October, November, Lloyd. By her pleading guilty, it stops the trial. Now they hear her statement and have to sentence. And then we can then say, we being the United States can say, okay, now let's negotiate on what we're going to do. So that may be what they're thinking. I don't know. I do know that we said if she's going to plead guilty on Thursday, we need to be in Chicago for the preliminary build-up toward the All-Star game and have some of the stars stand up for Britney. And I flew to Chicago on yesterday and stood with her wife, who had made no statement since Britney's plea until yesterday with me, and some of the major stars were there as we stood in the press conference many of y'all saw on the news. And we're going to keep this going. We have T-shirts here that says we are, we're already, some of y'all are wearing them. We are BG. That stands for Brittany Griner. We are BG. So people that want to wear a T-shirt, I'm asking churches all over the country to pray to free Brittany Griner in your services tomorrow. Because I think that even in her plea, she showed some real championship. She's proved herself as a champion on the court. But when you can stand up and say, look, I'm going to take responsibility for what I did, even though I didn't intend it. She'll explain what her intentions were. But if you are going to be a role model to young folks, you need to teach them how to stand up and admit their errors, intentional or unintentional, and their great attributes. And that's why I want us all to stand, and we will not stop until we work along with whoever in government is going to do what needs to be done to get Brittany Griner home. One of the other things that I've got to comment on, I'm going to spend a lot of time with this later on Politics Nation, is let me tell you something. One of the things that is clear throughout all religions of the Bible, all religions of the world, including the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, is that you can do whatever it is you want to do in life, but just know it will come back on you. Bible says you reap what you sow. That's it. Eastern religions say it's karma. Yeah. Whatever it is that is a belief in how you approach God, they all believe and all teach that it will all come back on you. I don't care. That's why my mother used to tell me that, and I had to get older to understand it, that you don't worry about people that do wrong. They may look like they're doing well for a season, but it will not last. And if you look at the methodical, systemic way that this January 6th panel is picking apart Donald Trump. I don't want y'all to miss this. When they started this panel, many of us were skeptical. Well, what they gonna do? They ain't got no subpoena power. Why ain't the Justice Department going at them? Why ain't, the Attorney General Garland done this, that, other? But they have been able to, in a slow walk, get his former employees. These are not Democrats testifying against him. These are his own people saying what he did, what he said, how he argued, throwing plates up against the wall in the White House, demanding people participate in the overthrow of an election. Here's a man that became wealthy, discriminated against blacks in buildings in New York. Here's a man that took out ads calling for the execution of the Central Park Five. Stand up, Carrie Weiss, one of them here. One of them here today. Here's a man that became the face of the breakfast movement. Said that Barack Obama was not a real American. That he was born in Kenya and led a movement that convinced millions of people that Obama was not born in Hawaii but was born in Kenya. A trickster and a con man. Even when he would try to be friendly with us, you could never trust him. Ain't no one out convention. But he stood for nothing. But somewhere I read, fret not thyself because of evildoers. But there was another part to that Richardson said, and neither be thou envious. See, a lot of y'all clout chasers are envious against folk that got the spotlight. So you do anything to get the spotlight. They lower their standards. They have no morals. They have no ethics, and you're envious of them. So you leave activism and become some kind of artist of nonsense. Your motto is not the Rosa Parks or the Fannie Lou Hamer or the Coretta Scott King. It's the gangster rappers, because you want attention. Neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. Because the Bible said, because they will soon. Didn't give you the date, didn't give you the timetable, but they will soon be cut down and wither as the grass. Well, get ready to watch the withering of MAGA man. They run around talking about, do you think he's going to run again? Let me tell you something. When Donald Trump got elected, Donald Trump called me before he was inaugurated. Attorney Hardy and our chairman, Richard Tay, I was in a board meeting in there. Tried to get me to come to Mar-a-Lago. I wouldn't do it. Called me another time, tried to get me to do it. I called him around COVID. Well, Al, let's talk about it. I said, we're not taking pictures. I'm not doing that. I knew then, because I was raised in the womb of the black church, that this could not last. And I'm taking my time on it because the lesson in this is if you know that there's something that is built on wrong, I don't care how pretty a mansion lives, if it's built on quicksand, it's going to sink. That's why I admire and take time to give credit and give a few minutes every week on our broadcast to Huddle, because it's easier for young folks to go with flashes than with solid organizations that's going to last. We got what we call legacy organizations, and NAN is one of them. We're 31 years old this year. It's more attractive. It's more attractive to go with the slogan there, hashtag stuff. I remember we fight, every fight we ever fought, there's always some younger group that's saying, no, we got to do it, it's a new day. And I kept telling everybody, don't worry about it, just keep going. And they be gone. They wither, gone. I mean, there was one set with this group, one set with that group, one set with the other group. And it is harder to be with things that are solid, that don't do certain things because it violates their values. People say to me, Rev Al, you need to do so-and-so because this is what is contemporary. But it is contemptible. It may be contemporary to use the N word, but it's contemptible. It may be contemporary to get up and just with no discipline, just exploit folks' anger by your rage, but it's contemptible. If you're going to lead people to advance them toward progress, you have to have the dignity to do what is effective and right, rather than do what is expedient and emotional. One of the things we always miss, Dr. King, let me tell you something. Everybody got Martin Luther King hanging up in their house. Celebrate Martin Luther King holiday, ride them down Martin Luther King Boulevard and all the streets and the cities that's watching us on Impact. Martin Luther King, when he was killed, was on poll numbers 2-1 unpopular with blacks. I'm talking about April 4th, 1968, the day he died. Most blacks had a negative view of Martin Luther King. That night, when he got killed, the next morning, everybody was a King for him. Now, why were they against Dr. King? Dr. King came out in 1967. April 4th, 1968, he was killed. April 4th, 1967, he was right down the block at Riverside Church and came out against the war in Vietnam. He was killed 1 year to the day after he came out against the war. But let's not stop there. The heads of the Civil Rights Organization at that time held a press conference and condemned him. Said that he's hurting the civil rights movement. That President Lyndon Johnson, who was the one that was doing the war in Vietnam, was a friend to the civil rights movement, had signed the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. How could Dr. King do this? So his own brothers in the Big Six had come out officially. I ain't talking about nothing I heard in school because I was in the New York. I'm talking about in the New York chapter. I'm talking about what was public press conference. Then he decided he's going to have a poor people's campaign. They was mad at him about Vietnam. He started touring the country and decided to go at the invitation of Reverend James Lawson to Memphis, Tennessee to help some garbage workers who were on strike because 3 of them had been killed because they didn't have safety precautions. Now I want you to know this. He went to Memphis to lead the march for the sanitation workers. Some young God black power advocates started a riot at the end of the march and disrupted the march. Some of the same rhetoric you hear today. Martin Luther King, same rhetoric you hear against us and others. Martin Luther King's old school. Martin Luther King never got this 40th birthday, but he was too old. That's why I mean some of the young folk be talking about old school and all, and now they done got in their 40s. What are y'all now? Somebody 20, you old enough to be their mama or their daddy. But they use that same rhetoric of Dr. King and disrupted the march and start throwing things and looting at the end of the march. They had to rush Dr. King off from the march. 1 man got killed. Rushed Martin Luther King off the march. New York Times came out, the day of Martin Luther King is over. He can't even have a nonviolent march anymore. It was because of their disruption that he said, we got to go back to Memphis and save nonviolence. Y'all need to know the story.
That's it.
He met his staff at his church, Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. Told him we got to go back. Got on the staff for not being there organized. And they went back. When he went back in is when they killed him. Had it not been for this division, Civil Rights Organization hitting him on Vietnam, Young Turks hitting him, talking about his day was over, they would have never been able to set him up as easily as they did for the assassination. People always hate folks that stand up. King stood up saying the same way I preach nonviolence to my own people, I'm going to preach it in Vietnam.
That's it.
The same way I'm going to fight for those who get business contracts, I'm going to fight for garbage workers. You got to not do what is popular, but do what is right. It's always easy. I want y'all to get this message. It's always easy to fight each other than to fight the enemy. In fact, you that have no courage and no standards, you rather fight each other Because you're afraid to fight your adversary. So rather than fight police systems that are wrong and built on inequality, rather than fight racial violence, rather than fight those that will not deal with us adequately, fight Sharpton, fight NAN, fight Urban League, because it's easy to take a shot at us. But you're afraid to fight those that exploit and oppress us.
That's it. Tell them, brother.
I want y'all to revisit that story of David and Goliath. A lot of y'all run through that story. But let me tell you, halfway, stop. Stop 1 minute. When David, shepherd boy, went to run on an errand that his father sent him on to bring something to his brothers, right? And we all know the story. He got there, and they was talking about this giant was going to fight them from the Philistines. And all of the Israelites were afraid to fight this giant. And David said, well, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? If no one to fight, I'll fight. Here's what a lot of us miss, Lloyd. Rather than say, well, all of us ought to fight the giant, they jumped on David. They didn't say, yeah, he's right. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? They said, who do you think you are? You just running errands. His own brothers condemned him rather than condemn their enemy in the Philistine army. And that's what you keep doing today. Those of us that'll stand up and fight, you condemn us rather than condemn the ones that we fight. We stand up for Ahmaud Arbery. We stand up for George Floyd. We stand up for now our sister Brittany Garner. Who does Sharpton think he is? I think I'm who you are not. I don't know who you think I am, but I know who I am not. I'm not getting in these brother against brother, sister against sister fights. People take shots at us. I was talking to Rachel Nordlinger, we all flying back last night. People take shots at us and see us and how you doing, Reverend, hug you and all that. And I'll go back and keep going. Because I'm not getting in no fight with you. I know they wait for me to say, now why you say so-and-so about the organization? Why you say so-and-so about me? I'm not getting in there. I have my eyes set on Goliath. I'm not on the battlefield to argue with those that should be fighting and not fighting. I'm looking at the giant. I'm looking for my slingshot. I'm looking for my 5 stone. I'm not getting in no argument with you. Whatever you said about me, you said. Whatever you did, you did. But now you want to be two-faced and all that, that's all right. They did it to David. They did it throughout the Bible. They can do it to me. I'm about taking giants down. And then they come, Rev Marshall, with who does David think he is? They said it, Dr. King, they said all the way through, they said about you, they said about me. Who they think they are? I know before I got on the plane in Chicago, come back here last night, who shot and come up in Chicago with the WNBA, talking about what they ought to do. Who do you think he is? Because you rather fight each other. Because you scared to address Putin. Who Sharp think he is talking about a clergy visit in Russia? Were you scared to go? So they said, well, who does David think he is? David is not even in the Israeli army. David has not been through boot camp. He's not been through military training. He doesn't know what he's doing. He won't even wear Saul's breastplate and use Saul's sword. He don't know what he's doing. And David answered him, Marshall, saying, well, That's true. But let me tell you something. I am only a shepherd boy. And one day I looked out and there was a lion and a bear that had come to take my daddy's sheep. I had not got a degree in bear fighting. I had not matriculated in lion wrestling. But somehow I got the strength to grab the lion and the bear and save my daddy's sheep. Sometimes God can take folk that are untrained and unrefined and don't have all of the pedigree and all of the stuff you think they need. God said, if you won't open your mouth, I'll make the rocks cry out. If you articulate, eloquent, well-versed people won't speak up, I'll take someone with broken English and make them shake up the nation. God don't need your proper upbringing. God needs a made-up mind and a willing heart. David, in his older years, sat down and wrote psalms. And those psalms explained it all. A lot of times we rehearse and recite the psalms, but don't know what they mean. They were written by a former shepherd boy whose brother turned on him. Written by someone whose own siblings talked about him. And as he got later in life, someone said, David, how did you do what you did? Go to 23rd. Read me what David said. David explained for Huddle 1,000 years later, how did you fight Goliath?
The Lord is my shepherd.
The Lord is my shepherd.
I shall not want.
I shall not want. Stop right there. He didn't say who his teacher was. He didn't say who his general or major was. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Go ahead.
He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters.
Now, why would David talk about green pastures and still waters? Well, remember now, because he's a shepherd boy that had been in muddy, dirty pastures. So green pastures was a reward for him. He was the one that was a warrior that fought Goliath and fought the Philistines. So it was a reward for him to be by still waters. Go ahead.
He restoreth my soul.
He restored my soul. That means sometimes you're going to get depressed. Sometimes you're going to get discouraged. Sometimes you're going to be broke down. You need your soul restored. Don't feel bad when you get discouraged. He restored my soul. He can't restore a soul that don't need restoration.
He leadeth me in the path of righteousness.
Path of righteousness. Oh, that's against clout chasing. That's against running for what is popular at the time. Path of righteousness.
For his name's sake.
For his name's sake. Not for you to get followers on media.
And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yea, though I walk through the valley and the shadow of death. What about it?
I will fear no evil.
I will fear no evil. Why?
For thou art with me.
Because thou art with me. Why do you do what you do if it's dangerous? Reverend Al, why are you talking about going to Russia? Reverend Al, why are y'all marching in Brunswick, Georgia? Reverend Al, why did y'all go and do all these things that are dangerous? Because I believed what I read in Bible class. That I can walk in the valley and the shadow of death. Don't just preach it, live it. Don't just recite it, live it. I'm not crazy to stand up. I was taught from a little boy that I can walk through the valley and the shadows of death, and I don't have to be afraid. I fear no evil. Reason you won't do what we do, you're scared. reason you won't stand up is you scared. You preach the 23rd Psalm, but you don't live the 23rd Psalm. Ain't no giant big enough. I will walk through the valley and the shadows of death and fear no evil, because God is with me. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me I'm his own. He will make a way for his children. God is still on the throne. God is still on the throne. If you stand up, he'll hold you up. If you make one step, he'll make two. God is still on the throne. I thought about leaving Brittany Griner's wife last night. How we gonna get her? I don't know, but we gonna get her. Because there is something more powerful than Putin. There's something more powerful than Russia. I learned this song as a little boy, oh Lord my God, when I, an awesome one, sing it for me. How great. You're talking about how powerful Putin is. How great. You're talking about what they won't do. How great. You're talking about Trump got all of the country in wraps. How great. I know somebody greater than Trump. I know somebody greater than Putin. I know somebody greater than the adversary. I know somebody greater than a stacked Supreme Court. I know it looks dark right now, taking women's rights, taking voting rights, but I know a God that told me that they'll walk through the shadows of death and fear no evil. How great, how great, how great thou art.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder that passes throughout the universe display. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. movement. There may be someone here today in the auditorium that has never joined National Action Network. You hear us on radio, you see us activities on television, but you never became a registered member. All you need to do is come down to me, either I'll write to me and we'll sign you up. This morning, you listening on radio or television can go right to the phones and call 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and we can sign you up over the phone. But if you're here today, just come right down to me and let us join National Action Network. Come on, everybody's singing. Come on, everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Yeah, singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. We want justice. We want freedom. Everybody now. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. All right. We're going to raise our offering. Everybody get ready to give. You that Radio Land, we're about 30 seconds off. You can go online as we raise our offering, and you can give right online at nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and we will receive it. You that are here, we want you to give to the best of your ability. All right. I want everybody to give. We're going to raise our offering. We'll raise our offering and then take in our new members and let you go. It's 11 o'clock now. I say 9 to 11. We're going to be about 6 minutes over. So give me your money quick. Don't make this go long. Y'all already know what you're going to do before you got here. I need about 10 people that can give $100 or more. Come quickly. Guardians, $100. Welcome Committee, $100. Winston Gilchrist, $100. Lloyd Williams, $100. Brother Coswell, $100. Mayor Rodney Jones of the Queensbridge Houses, $100. Brother Jude Charles, $100. Brother Roberts, $100. Brother Saboni, $100. Reverend Carolyn, $100. Attorney Smelkin, $100. All right. Give me some 50s, 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 50s. Brother David, 50. 50s, 50s, 50s. All right, give me some 20s, 20s, 20s. Now everybody, whatever you have, $1, $5, $10. Everybody. Thank you. All right, on tomorrow, I want everybody to do something outrageous. I don't know what it is, whatever you define as outrageous. I certainly want you all to wear your t-shirts and want them. I want you something outrageous on tomorrow because tomorrow is Arnold Pinnock's birthday. And he is our most outrageous member of the New York chapter. So in honor of him,